between the fair and one concert after another, traffic around the state fairgrounds is building. I've got a live look at what you can expect when you head out tonight and this weekend.
And some Wake County voters got a flyer in the mail claiming one legislative candidate wants to make historic cuts to education. We're checking the facts on what's expected to be one of the closest races in the state.
A stronger weekend cold front brings a big dip in temperatures and our only chance for rain. I'll time it out. Plus, a big change in temperatures is on the way just in time for trick-or-treating.
All right, here we go again. We got a big concert. We have the state fair both in the same night. That means traffic is going to be a mess. Thank you for joining us here at 7 o'clock. I'm Dan Haggerty.
And I'm Ashley Rope. The gridlock was especially bad last weekend when Sabrina Carpenter was performing. Tonight, it's the Little Big Town. WRAL's Aaron Thomas joining us now live from that area tonight. Aaron, how does it look at this hour? I know the schedule for the concert, I believe it was at 7 o'clock start.
That is correct, and for the most part, everything is moving pretty good. We had a chance to get out of this vehicle, their storm tracker, even though there's no storms, but we had a chance to speak with them, and they said that they really had no problems getting here. The main thing that they wanted to do is to allow for a lot of time ahead of schedule. So this is a live look over on the Beltline. You can see everything is moving pretty clearly. We're going to have it merge over to the entrance that would take you to where Lenovo Center as well as the state fairgrounds are. But we did see most of those impacts over on Hillsborough Street as well as Edwards Mill Road. I want to show you these pictures that both management groups from Lenovo Center as well as the state fairgrounds, they posted giving drivers a warning about traffic impacts. They encourage these drivers to leave earlier than usual and to have a plan when it comes to parking. Now, last weekend, as you mentioned, it did cause some frustration for concert goers trying to make it out to the sold out Sabrina Carpenter concert, but they got stuck in traffic for a while. Now, I'm told that one person happened to ditch their car and they walked to the venue. As you can imagine, there's a lot of coordination with NCDOT, State Highway Patrol, the Lenovo Center, as well as the NC State Fair. With another concert planned for tomorrow night, here are some tips to make sure you arrive in a timely fashion.
The best advice would be to take the bus. And that would be either the Go Durham bus out of Durham or to park at Triangle Town Center and take the Go Raleigh bus.
Very helpful information, and we actually just made it onto I-40 eastbound. This is a live look right now. You can start to see some things start to build up just a little bit. You have some construction that's on the side and a lot of people trying to get to their destinations. It looks like one of these exit ramps are closed here, but for the most part, this is what you can expect if you plan to be anywhere near the Lenovo Center or State Fairgrounds. Just prepare for some slight delays. On our late news, we're going to tell you a little bit more with another planned concert tomorrow, what some drivers are doing to avoid any possible traffic headaches. Back to you.
All right, Aaron, this is Brian Schrader in the WRAL Live Center. And all new at 7 o'clock, we're getting another look at a police investigation in Durham. This happened at a gas station at the intersection of Club Boulevard at Buchanan Boulevard. I want to show you that new video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker shot in the past hour. We are still working to get details about exactly what Durham police were investigating here. We know that crime scene tape was up around that Tiger Mart location and also around a house behind that gas station. We also saw evidence markers from Sky 5. As soon as we get new information, we will let you know.
All right, Brian, thank you. It is a Saturday-Sunday swing this weekend. Meteorologist Kat Gamble is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. Kat?
And, look at this temperature drop, 20 degrees just in the matter of a day. 82 tomorrow, 62 for the high on Sunday. Tomorrow, that will come with a small chance for rain, and that's because it's a cold front that's going to bring that big temperature drop. Let's take a look at Futurecast. Tomorrow morning, off to a dry, mostly sunny start. It's really not until later tomorrow evening that we have the chance of just a couple passing showers. I wouldn't let this deter you from making outdoor plans, though. 5, 6 o'clock, we could start to see a couple of sprinkles popping up. Better chances would come tomorrow night. And if trends continue tonight to show coverage like this, meteorologist Mike Mays may bump up rain chances to 30% tomorrow night. Either way, it's not going to add up to much in your rain gauge. We'll have a closer look at the longer range forecasts coming up.
All right, Kat. Hey, before you head into the weekend, let's walk you through Friday's big headlines. Here are 5 things you should know right now. A family is asking you to keep your eyes open for this car and this woman. 83-year-old Alice Parsons from Chatham County has been missing more than a week. The car is a 2009 gray Ford Escape. Her daughter tells us her mom had recently been having episodes of confusion. If you see her, call police. Cary police increased patrols at local schools today, 24 hours after a 17-year-old shot a 15-year-old near Cary High School. Investigators are still looking into the fight that started it all. They say that the gun used was not reported stolen. They're looking into how the teenager got it in the first place. A few positive developments for Western North Carolina. Today, Buncombe County schools reopened for the first time since Helene hit. Several damaged buildings were repaired. School bus routes were remapped. Meantime, the App State football team will host its first home game since the storm hit. They play Georgia State tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And Governor Cooper signed that $600 million relief bill. Lawmakers say more money is on the way. They need a lot more than that. Tomorrow, flags will fly at half-staff statewide to mark 1 month since Helene made landfall.
Some big milestones there. The E. coli outbreak tied to McDonald's Quarter Pounders is now up to 75 cases across 13 states. None of them in North Carolina, we should say, or any of our neighboring states. Still, though, 22 people have gone to the hospital. 1 person has died. Fast food spots like Taco Bell, KFC, and Pizza Hut threw out onions at some of their locations just to be safe. Hey, big surprise here. The presidential campaigns were back in North Carolina today. First Lady Jill Biden visited Fayetteville and Cary. She hosted events aimed at rallying the vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. Meantime, Senator J.D. Vance was in Rayford. He spoke about the former President Trump's platform, including immigration and the economy.
A campaign ad mailed to voters in southern Wake County accuses a Republican legislative candidate of seeking big cuts in education. Paul Spade checks the Democratic candidate's claims for PolitiFact.
Republican Scott Lassiter and Democrat Lisa Grafstein are running for a state Senate seat in southern Wake County. It's expected to be one of the closest races in the state. And Grafstein sent out a mailer that claims Lassiter has been campaigning for historically large cuts to education funding, as well as ending science classes and sending public school money to unaccountable private schools. Now, we found these claims to be pretty interesting, given that Lassiter is an assistant principal at a public school in Wake County. And it turns out Grafstein has very little to back up her claims. Lassiter has said he's okay with public funds going to private school vouchers, but he said he's only okay with that if there's some accountability. And he says he opposes the state's ongoing effort to expand the voucher program. As for the other claims, we found no evidence of Lassiter saying he wants to end science classes or cut education to historic proportions. Grafstein said he promoted those ideas, though, by appearing with Education Superintendent candidate Michelle Morrow and Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, who you can see in this picture here. Lassiter says he hasn't endorsed either of those candidates. And just last month, he called on Robinson to suspend his campaign, saying they don't share the same values. That's why the Truth Meter rates Grafstein's mailer false. Read our full fact check at WRAL.com.
And you aren't just voting for people on the ballot this year. You also get to decide if North Carolina changes a part of its constitution. But does the change actually change anything? It aims to bar non-citizens from voting, but that's already not allowed. Let's try to make sense of this together, shall we? Let's go in depth in about 2 minutes. Let's go in depth on something a lot of you have been asking about. Nicole wrote in and asked, have you covered the proposed changes to the constitutional amendment? Now, our NC Capitol team has several times, but I personally have not. But since it's controversial, motivated by hot button issues and inspiring some conspiracies out there, I think we should give it a shot, don't you? She's talking about this little section here of your ballot, asking voters to change some of the language around our voting laws, to tighten it up, to keep non-citizens from voting, which on its face doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because the wording already restricts non-citizens from voting. But why don't we go a bit further? Julie asked 2 simple questions. What is different from what the current Constitution states, and what is the purpose of this amendment? Why don't we start with the differences between the current wording as it is now and the proposed wording, the changes that they're asking us to make. here they are side by side. And when you do break down the language and you look at the words, the new version proposed by Republican lawmakers does appear to be more inclusive. Now, wait a minute. I can hear all the liberals out there banging their dining room tables or wherever they're sitting and saying, wait a minute, hold on, no way. More inclusive, that's not what Republicans are trying to do. Calm down, chill out a bit. We'll get to the purpose part of the discussion next. But for now, why don't we just take a look at the language? You see, the current law says, as it's written, every person born in the United States and every person who has been naturalized, 18 years of age and so on and so forth, can vote. It specifically names those two groups, people born here and people naturalized. Those are the immigrants who lawfully become citizens. But that leaves out a lot of people, doesn't it? Lots of other citizens. Like, what if Gerald Owens was born today? That's right, your favorite local TV personality wasn't born in the U.S. Neither was J. Cole, Fayetteville's finest, two of our best. Gerald was born in Italy, in Vicenza, and J. Cole was born in Frankfurt, Germany. They're both U.S. citizens, but their type of citizenship isn't expressly mentioned in our Constitution. You see, Gerald's dad was in the Army, so was J. Cole's, and they were born overseas. How many people watching from Fort Liberty can relate to that story? Or what about kids who are born in another country, but their parents move here and then become naturalized citizens? On the Homeland Security website, it says if your biological or adoptive parents become U.S. citizens before you reached the age of 18, you may already be a U.S. citizen and not need to apply for naturalization. There's nothing about those people in the current language. Those people weren't born here. They weren't naturalized. The new language counts them. The proposed amendment says this: only a citizen of the United States who is 18 years of age, etc., so on and so forth. That would count all citizens, regardless of how you became one. You see, this amendment has been classified as some kind of Republican strong-arm tactic, using their supermajority to force this onto the ballot. But you have to remember, lots of Democrats supported putting it up for a vote, 32 in the House, 10 in the Senate. So why the controversy? Well, why don't we go back to Julie's question? What is the purpose of this amendment? It kind of depends, Julie, on your interpretation. You see, Republican lawmakers didn't pitch this change as some inclusive fine-tuning to protect the voting rights of military kids. It was pitched like this.
Our current constitutional language uses the word every, not only. And in one sense, that could permit a future legislature to consider opening the door to non-citizens voting in this state.
Republicans point to some examples where this has happened, never in state law, but in a handful of cities and towns where non-citizens can vote on city business, like Oakland, California, for instance, where since 2022, non-citizen parents who have kids in city schools can vote on the school board. The idea is if someone is raising a family in the U.S., citizen or not, they should have a say in their kids' education, especially if their kids were born in the U.S., which would make those kids citizens automatically. It's a controversial interpretation of the law that has been upheld so far in California courts. But with interpretations, you're going to get a few.
As part of my plan to secure the border on day one of my new term in office, I will sign an executive order making clear to federal agencies that under the correct interpretation of the law, going forward, the future children of illegal aliens will not receive automatic U.S. citizenship.
That was a campaign video from last May, and the law he's referring to is the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And you're going to find the language a bit familiar. It says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. It was written in 1866 to grant and protect the citizenship rights of freed slaves and their children. But we're not the only ones who do this. Take a look at this map. If you're born in one of the countries in green there, you're a citizen automatically just because you were born there in that country. 35 countries do this. The rest of the world does not. Do you notice anything about this map that kind of stands out a bit? It's all the countries that Europe found last. People looking for land they could claim as their own and then give to their kids. Birthright citizenship is kind of written into the fabric of our entire hemisphere. If that part of our Constitution changes, then so does our definition of citizen. And why some people think the wording in this amendment, the one you're going to vote on, is set up to follow Trump's lead. If he changes the definition of citizen, North Carolina falls in line. Then again, there is the chance that we're just overthinking all of this. I mean, ignoring the 14th Amendment would probably be tied up in the courts like immediately and forever. Odds are this is just a way to rile everybody up and push those people to the polls. WRAL did a poll in September, and depending on how you look at it, immigration is the #1 issue for Republicans in North Carolina. Lawmakers know that any extra incentive to turn people into voters will help them to win all those other races too. What do you think? Should North Carolina change its constitution? Tell us and then go vote on it, I guess. What do you think about these voting measures that let people decide, not the lawmakers? Send me emails, dan@WRAL.com. We can talk about this or any other news you want to talk about. Tell me what's on your mind, and we'll go in depth.
Dan, that was super helpful. Thank you for putting that segment together. Appreciate that. We got to talk about this weekend. There's so much going on, and we've got a fall festival in Franklinton tomorrow.
We do. It should be really nice. Noon to 5 o'clock. They're getting ready for it. The theme this year is Beetlejuice. And if you look at the sidewalk really closely, you can see some of the art that they have out there. The forecast looks spectacular tomorrow. When it starts at noon, 76 degrees, 2 o'clock, 81, and by 4 o'clock, 80 degrees. So very warm out there. Just that 20% chance of rain by 4 o'clock. Sunday is when you're going to need to get your jackets back out. We're talking t-shirt weather tomorrow in the 80s. Sunday, it's going to feel pretty chilly outside. High temperatures are only in the low 60s. Mostly cloudy skies if you're headed to Red Hat Amphitheater for the Music for the Mountains. WRAL is a proud media sponsor. It should be a great time out there, all for a good cause. As we head throughout the evening, temperatures are going to be in the 50s, eventually dipping into the 40s late at night. Bring the layer with you. You're going to be glad that you have a jacket or a sweater. We go from 82 tomorrow, 86 in Fayetteville, 81 in Rocky Mount, all the way down to 62 in Raleigh on Sunday, 64 in Fayetteville, 60 in Durham. It's going to be a drastic change. A lot of clouds, a bit of a chilly breeze, but 80s in October actually are pretty common. We average about 6 every year. So far, we've had 9. Tomorrow would make an even 10 for October, and it's not out of the question we could kick off the month of November with an 80-degree high. You'll see that on the 7-day in a moment. Here comes the cold front that brings the temperature drop tomorrow. It's also going to bring that small chance for rain. Doesn't look like it's going to add up to much by any means. I wouldn't cancel outdoor plans for it, and our southern counties will have the best chance of some light rainfall. We're talking a trace of rain, maybe 1/10 of an inch at most. Hour by hour rain chances 0 early in the day tomorrow. It's during the evening that we could see a couple of sprinkles pop up. Outside at the North Carolina State Fair tonight, it is 68 degrees. A lot of people out there. If you're headed out that way late tonight, temperatures are going to be dipping into the upper 50s late, but it's pretty comfortable, not as chilly as it was last night. Tomorrow's high, 82 is the warmest on our 7-day. Just a brief dip in temperature Sunday and Monday, and then next week temperatures moderate back to the upper 70s by Halloween. 80 for the first day of November. Those of you who like to decorate for Christmas right after Halloween, an 80-degree high to do that on Friday, me included. I guess I'll just have to deal with that this year.
Speaking for yourself, Kat. Yes, that's great. Thank you. Hey, do you have a costume picked out yet? It's the weekend before Halloween. We went into the WRAL archive and found a classic Halloween story, a costume parade in Cary from 1984. You don't want to miss this. That's in 2 minutes. Does your neighborhood leave boo baskets on the front door, or maybe hold a Halloween block party or a trunk or treat event? That's the tradition this time of year, right? The weekend before Halloween.
The news, we also have our own kind of Halloween traditions. Over the years, I know you've seen all the classic stories we do on the trick-or-treat safety tip stories. And we found one in the WRAL archive from 1984.
So here is your Friday moment of nostalgia.
Pint-sized people dressed in weird attire greeted motorists traveling near downtown Cary today. But it really wasn't anything out of the ordinary for the longtime residents of the Wake County town. The Halloween parade for Cary Elementary happens at this time every year. It's a chance for students at the school to show off their latest Halloween fads. In addition to the annual walk, these children have something else on their minds, trick-or-treating with safety. The ghosts and goblins we talk to already know the rules.
Don't get run over when the cars are going. Don't cross the street. Stay out of the roads when you're going trick-or-treating.
Walk on sidewalks and observe traffic signals, and wear light-colored clothes and masks that you can see through. Who should you go trick-or-treating with?
With your mommy or dad or sister or your brother.
Stay in your own neighborhoods and only visit the homes of people that you know.
Don't eat candy until your mommy checks it.
Have your parent or another adult examine all goodies to check for harmful objects, and never eat unwrapped candies. And most importantly, from the kindergarten class at Cary Elementary, Renee McCoy, Action News 5.
Costumes were a little scarier back then, weren't they?
Yeah, they were, weren't
Gosh.
they?
Were any of those kids grown-ups watching? Let us know.
That
We want
would
to hear
be
from
amazing.
you. Thanks for watching tonight.
Good night.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.